Hi. Hope you're having a great day. Today, we're going to have another conversation with a student who is experienced in online learning, who has a long history of it, to give advice to other students who are going through the transition right now. So really excited to bring on another superstar from University of Central Florida. Brandilynn, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time. And I also want to introduce someone else from Team UIA who is who is not a new face. It's Dr. Anna Drake-Warshaw. So we have, who's the Director of Partnerships, Learning and Evaluation for UIA. So we're just going to have a conversation with the three of us. And so I'll move it. I'll move it different. Oh, how about that way? Okay, great. So Brandilynn Hubbard, thank you so much for being with us. And can you share a little bit about your background with online? How long have you been taking online classes?
I've been taking online classes for a little while. I started with my associate's degree, half online, half in class. And then when I switched to UCF for my bachelor's, I went 100% online. So I'm in my last semester of that now.
Okay. So the disruption for you, it's been pretty fluid, I guess, this month, other than the other disruption.
Yeah, besides the regular everyday disruption, classes have all been the same.
Okay. And are you hearing from, have you heard from students who were taking in-person classes reaching out to you? Or what are you hearing from them?
Yeah, absolutely. So my two best friends since childhood, one goes to Embry-Riddle and the other goes to Daytona State College, and they are both experiencing a lot of difficulties with this transition.
Is it like technology? So what we're hearing is, and we're starting to see universities respond in pretty creative ways. So we know our campuses are providing hotspots, laptops. I just heard about noise canceling headphones for folks who can't control their environment. I think we're figuring out as we go. What are kind of the challenge areas that you're hearing about?
Well, it definitely depends on the school. Like I said, one of them, her biggest issue is that her professors aren't getting back to her in time. And she's taken online classes before and she's been fine with it, but she's having a little bit more issues now. She reaches out, nobody's getting back to her, the assignment due date comes and she doesn't get the information she needs. So yeah, that's been a big issue.
So this is something that we've been hearing from students quite a bit. And so if you're watching at home, number one takeaway from Brandilynn, you need to be checking your email and responding to students. This is not like it used to be where we could be able to wait a day or maybe 2 days to respond. Students who are online really need a level of engagement, which is different. And I think for faculty, that means a little bit extra time scheduling for email, which I don't know that every faculty member would expect the increasing amount of email they're going to receive. So that's first, I think, is what I'm hearing. Anything else that you're hearing from your friends?
Yes. I guess in the one school, she had said that they let her know that material is going to be simplified just so it transitions better into an online format. And she thinks it's been the polar opposite. Tests that are usually dedicated 3-hour blocks in school, they're giving them 90 minutes online because I guess they think it's easier online. But, she's struggling with that. She's struggling with lectures. Now, with my classes, most of my teachers, none of my teachers, I've never had a single professor that has specific times for lectures. And the only one that has, she recorded it. So if you couldn't make it, you can go back and watch it later. So she's having this issue where she has to be there at a certain time, like 3-4 days a week for these lectures. And on top of that, given videos, basically the same exact material in video format. So it's double the work on her hand, and she has a toddler. So it's a little bit harder getting there exactly when they want you to.
This is super helpful. And one thing, Anna, you're not prepared for me to do this, but Anna, your husband is a faculty member who has transitioned.
Yes.
So feel free to pipe up on any of these things that you are hearing from him that are coming up. I'm guessing much of this is possibly resonating, or at least
it does resonate.
Okay.
Yes, the email cadence and volume is really different. And I know from also listening to his faculty and committee meetings, which I also hear from home now is a new thing, that they are learning to adapt to that experience. And, just like students have to structure their time differently, and we want to hear you talk about how you do that. When they're learning online, faculty have to structure their time differently when they're teaching online because they're used to protecting time for preparing to teach and for research, and suddenly things are a lot more fluid. And so giving them feedback about the time within which you need to hear from them, that's super important. So thanks for mentioning that. Would you talk maybe a little bit about how you have learned to structure your time as an online learner?
Yes, I think that was actually my biggest issue when I first started years ago. But I've started this meticulous way of making sure I get everything done. I have to, I keep a calendar on my wall, the whiteboard ones, and it's great to use your phone, but I feel like when you have it right there on your wall, you're forced to see it every time you walk past it. So you see, okay, this is due next week or in 2 weeks. On top of that, I keep a weekly calendar. So when you break the giant calendar, you put down what you have to do each day of the week. And then a lot of times if I know that, there's 10 things due in one day, I will break that down even further, make a list of what I want to accomplish that day, highlight the things that are most important, just so that you make sure you get the time sensitive things done first. That frees up the rest of your time.
That's great advice.
So what other advice do you feel like you would give yourself starting over online when you had to first acclimate to this new kind of way of doing learning?
Do not be afraid to reach out to your professors. They're people. They're there to help. It's what they're there for. I know I had a lot of anxiety about reaching out to somebody that I'd never met before, never spoken with. I have no idea who you are other than the fact that you teach this class. And the only real thing to get over that is to just do it. Just take that first step, email your professor, say, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm really looking forward to your class. Just start that dialogue. Because I mean, back in the beginning, there were some whole semesters I went without ever communicating with my professors. I never forged that relationship. And I look back, I regret that a lot.
That's super helpful. So that's something that we've picked up from other students that we've been interviewing is that you, I think one said earlier this week, you have to be willing to be really annoying.
Yeah.
Any sensitivity about, oh, I already sent an email, like you have to kind of get rid of that because you are going to have to be your best advocate. So I think that's really, really helpful stuff to share. Anna, do you have another question that you wanted to?
Yeah, I'm really into this faculty theme, so I'm going to go down the hall afterwards and give some advice to my co-working partner these days. But he's doing a great job. I'll give him lots of good credit. But what advice, I guess, would you give to faculty who really want to meet student needs, but they just aren't quite sure how to do that right now because things are so different? You've said make sure you're looking and respond to your email. What else could they do to be as helpful as possible?
I feel like with this transition, there's this habit from what I'm hearing from my friends of giving more material than you need to. You feel like, oh, I'm not physically there. They have to know this, this, and this. But a lot of times you just want to put exactly what you would say in your lecture into the online format. You don't have to add that extra, even though you feel that necessity to do so. I would also say to record your lectures. Definitely have them live streamed, of course, and let them know that it is mandatory to watch them, whether you're able to at that time or later on in the recording. That's definitely helpful. And I would just say try to make your instructions as clear as possible because, like you said, they're not used to this crazy influx of emails coming in. And like we said, students have to send these emails. They have to get things done. They need information. So the less information they have to reach out to you for, the better. So even if it means bullet pointing the tiniest things that you think are common sense, you don't need to put that in there, put it in there so that you're not getting an email for clarification.
That's great advice. Thank you.
Oh. Great. So thank you. Yeah, that's super helpful. I really appreciate especially about the level of detail that's required. What can you share with us, when you started online, I don't know if you had trepidation about it or if you had a perspective of online learning, but I'm curious what surprised you about the experience that hopefully can give folks a little bit of hope.
Well, when I first started online, and it definitely depends on your university, of course, I had taken one online class way back in high school. So my only experience with online was, oh, wow, this is going to be terrible. But I was surprised. It's really simple once you get the flow of it down, get yourself organized. You don't have to go into as crazy detail as I do, just whatever works for you. And, like I said, you got to reach out to your professors. It's really not as difficult as you think it's going to be. It's simple. You just have to set yourself time, just like when you go to class and you say, okay, so I'm going to be in class from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Well, okay, if you would normally do that, that's when you should study at home. Okay, from 8 to 11, I'm going to be working on this assignment. So just, don't get distracted with the fact that you have all the time in the world, because you don't. You think you do, but you don't. But it's a lot easier than I think most people expect. And I think the reason everything's so difficult now is, like you said, professors are also trying to figure out how to do this, so they're not used to it. But this is not what a typical online experience is like. If you take one a year from now, I'm sure it'll be much easier. Don't let this, ruin that idea of an online class for you.
I agree. Like that's one thing we're constantly messaging is this is distance education. This is not online learning. This is not digital learning. This is just distance education. And most of it is synchronous. So give a lot of grace, a lot of flexibility. I love what I'm hearing from you about students need extra clarity. Folks, you've got to find a way to respond quickly, because it has to happen. And for students, don't be afraid to continually reach out and ask for what you need. You have to be really vocal about communicating on your own behalf. So is there any other advice that you're giving to friends who are trying to travel through this journey?
I think the biggest advice I can give is to just, it sounds dumb, just believe in yourself. Don't let that doubt set into your head that, oh, I'm never going to be able to get this done. How am I going to find the time and still be able to do this and that while I'm home? You just have to believe in yourself, and you can, make sure you rely on people. Like I said, my two best friends since childhood, we're in 3 different universities. And before this all happened, we met up every Sunday and we did all of our homework together, and we didn't understand what we're learning. One's going for engineering, one's going for psychology, I'm in history. So we can't help each other, but just being there together was nice. And now that this is happening, we still try to meet with each other virtually. So see if you can reach out, find a partner, somebody to say, hey, you're not paying attention, stop looking at your phone, make sure you're doing your work.
That's great. No, that makes me think about it. So Anna actually does virtual co-working with a colleague where they're not working on the same thing, but they're just both on Zoom. And we're just both going to be accountable to working on our projects during this time period.
Exactly.
And
makes you keep your bum in the chair.
Yeah. So for accountability, find folks to hold you accountable. Know that this moment will pass. And I just hope that folks continue to advocate and reach out, advocate for themselves, reach out and ask for what you need. And
absolutely.
Do not hesitate. So, well, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. Folks at home, I hope you also appreciated the wisdom that Brandilynn has earned and given to all of us. So thank you so much for joining us today. And like I said, continue to say, we're just trying to uplift and elevate and amplify folks who are experienced with online learning, who have some wisdom to share. And by the way, it can be wisdom from last week, from learning how to go online in the last week. Advice from students to students. We think they're the best at giving any kind of insight. But our hope is to kind of invite folks to participate in kind of a community campfire and sharing wisdom. We think ideas need to move faster. So that's what we're about. And you definitely helped us with that today. So thank you so much, Brandilynn.
Thanks,
you. Brandilynn. It's great to talk to you. Good luck. I know you do not need it. You sound like you've got it really together. It's impressive to hear about.
Awesome. All right, everybody, have a great day.
You too.